The office was buzzing with low voices as employees slowly filed into the meeting room, each carrying their notepads, laptops, and steaming mugs of coffee. The long glass table stretched like a polished mirror under the bright fluorescent lights, gleaming with the shine of a recent cleaning. At the far end of the room, Anna, the cleaning lady, was bent over, carefully polishing one last corner. Her hands shook slightly as she wiped, the cloth squeaking faintly on the surface. She always tried to be invisible during meetings, but she had lingered a little too long this time, determined to make everything perfect. The door swung open, and the manager marched in with his usual air of authority. His sharp suit contrasted starkly with Anna's faded uniform, and his polished shoes clicked loudly on the tiled floor. His eyes immediately locked on her. "You again," he barked, his voice slicing through the murmurs in the room. The employees turned their heads, the room going unnaturally quiet. Anna froze mid-wipe, the cloth in her hand trembling. She looked up, startled, her lips parting as if to explain, but the manager wasn't interested in explanations. His face was red, his jaw tight, his patience long gone. "How many times have I told you not to interfere when we're preparing for meetings?" he snapped. "First, you spilled coffee on the quarterly reports. Then, you dropped files in the lobby yesterday, making me late for a client. And now," his gaze dropped to the bucket she carried, half filled with soapy water, "you're standing here like you belong in this room. Enough is enough." The words hit her like a blow. The cloth slipped from her hand and fell silently to the table. The bucket wobbled, clattering against the leg of a chair, and a small splash of water spread across the floor. Anna's eyes widened, her breath catching in her throat. She pressed her lips together tightly, fighting to keep her composure in front of the entire staff who now stared at her in uncomfortable silence. "You're fired," the manager thundered, his voice echoing against the walls. A collective gasp spread through the room, not because they disagreed but because of the sharp finality of his tone. The air felt thick, heavy, as if the weight of his words lingered over every head. Some employees exchanged uneasy glances, while others quickly lowered their eyes to their laptops, pretending to be busy. No one dared to speak in her defense. Anna slowly bent down, picked up the fallen cloth, and placed it gently in her bucket. Her hands were unsteady, but her face betrayed no tears, only a strange, calm resignation. Without a word, she straightened her back, nodded faintly toward the manager, and turned toward the door. As she walked out, her footsteps soft but steady, a peculiar silence followed her. It wasn't the silence of relief, it was the silence of unease, of a story unfinished. Everyone could feel it in their bones, though they couldn't explain why. Something about the way she left, her quiet dignity in the face of humiliation, made the air in the meeting room feel colder than before. The next morning, the meeting room was even more crowded than usual. The air buzzed with anticipation. Today was the day the board was introducing someone important, though no one seemed to know exactly who. The long table was lined with suits and ties, laptops open, pens ready, but beneath the polished professionalism, curiosity churned. The manager sat near the head of the table, a smug look plastered across his face. For him, yesterday had been a small victory, finally ridding the office of that clumsy cleaning lady who had been a constant annoyance. The clock ticked louder than usual, each second stretching the suspense. Suddenly, the door creaked open. The room shifted, with expectation, and when Anna stepped in, every jaw dropped. Gone was the shabby gray cleaning uniform, gone was the messy bun tucked under a cap. Instead, she walked with an air of confidence, her heels clicking lightly on the polished floor. A sleek black suit hugged her figure, her hair, silky and perfectly styled, framed her face with effortless grace. But what stunned everyone most was the simple, deliberate motion of her hand as she reached up and removed the wig she had worn every day in the office. The employees collectively gasped, hands covering mouths, eyes darting between her and the manager. Even the air conditioner's low hum seemed to stop. She stood at the head of the table, calm, poised, completely transformed from the timid figure who used to shuffle with buckets and cloths. "Good morning," she said, her voice steady and commanding, carrying a tone that was impossible to ignore. "Allow me to introduce myself properly. My name is Anastasia Petrova." She placed the wig down on the table with quiet finality, like a symbol of everything she had endured in disguise. "I am the new majority shareholder of this company." The silence shattered into gasps, papers rustling as chairs creaked under employees shifting in shock. Some blinked in disbelief, others leaned forward as if needing to be closer to make sure this wasn't a dream. The manager's confident smirk evaporated instantly, replaced with a pale, frozen expression. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Anna, or rather Anastasia, glanced around the room, her eyes sharp but calm, landing on each face. "I've spent the past few months here under the guise of a cleaning lady," she continued. "I wanted to see how this company truly operated. I wanted to witness with my own eyes how people are treated when they're considered unimportant." Her words cut like glass, not shouted but spoken with undeniable weight. "And I have seen enough." The employees shifted uneasily, their minds flashing back to moments when they had ignored her, dismissed her, or laughed quietly at her expense. Now, those same people couldn't even meet her gaze. Finally, her eyes locked on the manager, who was visibly sweating. "Especially from management," she added, her voice low but firm. The room seemed to hold its breath. She straightened her shoulders, the presence of someone who clearly belonged in control. "Things are about to change here. Starting today." The room erupted again, not with gasps this time, but with murmurs of awe, disbelief, and the dawning realization that the woman they had overlooked had just become the most powerful person in the building. And the manager, who had so confidently humiliated her yesterday, sat frozen, his downfall written all over his face.